Thank you.
Good evening, one and all. Myself, Dushyant Dipakkumar Champaneri. Presently, I am pursuing Ph.D. Horticulture degree as a research scholar at Department of Vegetable Science, ASPEE College of Horticulture and Forestry, Navsari Agricultural University, Gujarat. So today our topic of discussion is deficit irrigation and its implication in vegetable crops. For easy understanding, I have divided my lecture into various partitions like scenario of vegetable crop in horticulture, then challenges regarding water on earth, deficit irrigation, method of application and types of deficit irrigation, physiological aspects of deficit irrigation, potential impact of deficit irrigation, then case studies, conclusion, and future thrust. So first of all, importance of vegetable. We all know that vegetables are considered as a protective food as they provide essential nutrients, vitamin, minerals, which is beneficial for our human body. By considering this fact, Indian Council of Medical Research has recommended 300 gram vegetable consumption per capita per day, from which 125 gram is green leafy vegetable, 100 gram is root vegetable, and 75 gram is other vegetable. In this COVID pandemic era, by considering the health benefit of fruit and vegetables, the UN General Assembly designated the year 2021 as International Year of Fruit and Vegetables. So this shows the importance of vegetable and fruit crop in human health. Now, as we all know that horticulture crop occupied 30% of Indian agricultural GDP by covering only 8.5% of total cropped area. If we take a glance at this chart, which is the scenario of production share of various horticultural crop of last 5 years, then we can clearly see that around 60% production share were covered by vegetable crop and 32% production share were covered by fruit crop. While other part of horticultural sector like plantation crops, spices, flower, and aromatics have very lower portion. So this shows the dominance of vegetable crop in horticultural area. Now, if we take a glance at this table, which is the scenario of area production and productivity of various horticultural crops, then here also we can see the maximum digit in regard of area production and productivity in vegetable sector. So this shows the economic importance of vegetable crop in horticultural sector and ultimately in Indian agricultural sector. Now, cultivation of vegetable crop is highly based on 6 pillars of vegetable production, which is quality planting or seed material, fertile and productive soil, adequate amount of irrigation, favorable climatic condition, then adequate amount of nutrients and farm management practices. Today, out of these 6 important pillars of vegetable production, we will be going to focus on irrigation part. Here is the water requirement of some important vegetable crop. On the basis of water requirement, vegetables are classified into 4 types: high water requirement, moderate water requirement, low water requirement, and very low water requirement. On the basis of their water needs, various vegetables are classified into these 4 types, which is described in this figure. Now, as we all know, India is an agricultural country, and around 70% of population is directly based on agriculture for their livelihood. In India, agriculture is classified into 2 types on the basis of water application: irrigated agriculture and rain-fed agriculture. Now, if we consider total agricultural area of India, then 48.8% is irrigated agriculture and 51.2% is rain-fed agriculture. Now, if we see this map, which is the scenario of irrigated agricultural area of different states of our country, then we can clearly see that only 3 states indicated with dark cream color, Punjab, Haryana, and Uttar Pradesh, has greater than 75% irrigated agricultural area, while 4 states indicated with light green color, namely Bihar, West Bengal, Andhra Pradesh, and Tamil Nadu, has 50 to 75% irrigated agricultural area. Remaining all the states indicated with red and yellow color have less than 25 to 50% irrigated agricultural area. So this map shows the dependency of Indian agriculture on rain, which is unfortunately becoming uncertain and erratic in this climate change era. So we have to must find out other way for agriculture water solution to maintain food security of our country. Now, if we see scenario of water at world level, then our Earth has total 1.386 billion kilometer cube total volume of water, which is roughly around 71% of Earth's surface, out of which only 2.75% water is available fresh water, which is usable by the mankind. usable by the mankind, out of which agriculture sector withdraws 70% of water, which is roughly around 1.9% of total available fresh water. But unfortunately, agriculture sector wastes 60% of its water, which is roughly around 1.14% of available fresh water. So ultimately, water used by the plant is only 0.76%. So this data shows the inefficient application of water in agricultural sector. Now, if we see agriculture at a world scale, then out of total agricultural area, only 20% is irrigated agriculture, which contributes around 40% of total food production. As per the report of World Bank, population of the globe will be going to touch 10 billion by the year 2020-50. And to feed this huge living entity, we require 70% extra food. But agricultural land is decreasing at the rate of 0.03 million hectare per year. So to produce this 70% extra food, 40% irrigated agriculture will be required. That means 20% increase in irrigated agricultural area is required to compensate to produce 70% extra food by the year 2020-50. Now, increasing population and decreasing agricultural land is not the only hurdle, but other consequences like more allocation of water from agricultural sector to industrial sector and climate change make the issue of water more complex in agricultural sector. Now we all know the scenario of water in agricultural sector. Increase in water use efficiency is the demand of recent era, and to fulfill this demand, we must have to reduce or eliminate this 60% waste of water. And to achieve this goal, deficit irrigation can be an effective solution. Now, deficit irrigation. What is deficit irrigation? Deficit irrigation is an optimization strategy in which crops are irrigated below full evapotranspiration level. That means crops are irrigated below fill capacity. That may lead to decrease in yield minimally, but a significant increase in water use efficiency. Now let's understand deficit irrigation with one example. Here, consider this first spot as fully saturated field of crop. Now, hypothetically, we assume that 100% evapotranspiration occur in the field. Now, if we refill the pot with same quantity of depleted amount of water, that means up to full fill capacity, then it is considered as a normal irrigation. But if we refill the pot with a decreased quantity of depleted amount of water, that means below fill capacity, then it is considered as a deficit irrigation. Here we can clearly see that we save significant amount of water, which helps to improve water use efficiency of particular crop. Now, here is the method of application, that how we can calculate particular amount of irrigation water for particular irrigation event. For that, we have to first find out ET0, that is reference evapotranspiration, which is multiplication of EPAN and KPAN. Now, EPAN is a measured pan evaporation that can be measured through evaporation pan, and KPAN is a pan coefficient. Value of KPAN is readily available in FAO manual, which is differ according to different climatic regions. After that, we have to find out crop evapotranspiration, which is multiplication of ET0 that we found earlier into KC. KC means crop coefficient. Value of KC is also readily available in FAO manual, which is different according to different crop, and for particular crop, it changes according to different growth stages, as described in this table as an example of tomato. After that, we have to find out irrigation depth, which is multiplication of ETC that we found earlier into PEF. Now, PEF is pan evaporation fraction. That means if you want to apply full irrigation, means irrigation at 100% ET0, then PEF will be 1. And if you want to apply 80% irrigation at 80% ET0, that means 20% deficit irrigation, then PEF will be 0.8. And if you want to apply irrigation at 60% ET0, then PEF will be 0.6, and so on. After that, we have to find out irrigation quantity, which is multiplication of irrigation depth into lateral spacing into dripper spacing. And by dividing irrigation quantity with discharge rate, we can easily calculate irrigation time for particular irrigation event. So this is the method of applying deficit irrigation for particular crop for particular irrigation event. Now, impact of deficit irrigation is highly based on two factors. First is a level of deficit irrigation. That means up to which level we can deficit the irrigation water for particular crop. For example, irrigation at 90% ET0, that means 10% deficit irrigation. Irrigation at 80% ET0, that means 20% deficit irrigation, and so on. Now, second factor is stage of application. Now, here is the general scenario for vegetable crops. First is a vegetative stage, which has a less transpiration loss, so it has low water demand, so it is insensitive to deficit irrigation. So we can apply deficit irrigation in vegetative stage. Now, second stage is a reproductive stage, which has increased transpiration rate. So it has high water demand. So it is sensitive to deficit irrigation. So we should avoid applying deficit irrigation in reproductive stage of crop. Then third one is a fruit ripening stage, which has steady transpiration rate and low water demand. So it is insensitive to deficit irrigation. So we can apply deficit irrigation here also. So we must have to consider particular level of deficit irrigation along with a particular stage of application with sensitivity for successive application of deficit irrigation for specific crop. Now here is the type of deficit irrigation. First one is classical deficit irrigation, then regulated deficit irrigation, then partial root zone drying, which is further divided into two parts: fixed partial root zone drying and alternate partial root zone drying. This type of deficit irrigation we understand in next slide. Here is the classical deficit irrigation. Now consider these four growth stage of particular crop cycle. First one is vegetative stage, which is insensitive to deficit irrigation. Second one is flowering stage, which is sensitive to deficit irrigation. Third one is fruit setting stage, which is sensitive to deficit irrigation. And fourth one is fruit ripening stage, which is insensitive to deficit irrigation. Now, in case of classical deficit irrigation, we apply deficit amount of irrigation water throughout the crop growth stages. While in regulated deficit irrigation, we apply deficit amount of irrigation water only in crop insensitive stages, like a vegetative stage and fruit ripening stage, while we apply full amount of irrigation water in water insensitive stages, like flowering and fruit setting stage. So this is the major difference between classical deficit irrigation and regulated deficit irrigation. Now, in case of fixed partial root zone drying technique, we apply deficit amount of irrigation water throughout the crop growth stages, but only at the hub portion of the root zone. Remaining hub portion of the root zone kept dry throughout the crop growth stages. While in alternate partial root zone drying technique, we apply deficit amount of irrigation water throughout the crop growth stages at hub portion of the root zone, but alternatively. That means if we apply irrigation at left side in first irrigation event, then in second irrigation event, we must have to apply irrigation at right side, and consequently, we have to follow the irrigation cycle throughout the crop growth stages. So this is the major difference between fixed partial root zone drying technique and alternate partial root zone drying technique. Now here is the general response at physiological plane caused by the deficit irrigation. Deficit irrigation alters the physiology of plant at root level, then shoot, then leaf, and ultimately at fruit level. Now consider this is a plant in a field. When we apply deficit amount of irrigation, plant immediately feel water stress condition and roots send signal to the above ground plant part. As soon as above ground plant part sends the root signaling, reallocation of assimilate from shoot to root occurs, and subsequently translocation of ABA from root to shoot occurs. Now, due to lower concentration of ABA at root level, deeper and better root growth were observed in deficit irrigated crop, while higher concentration of ABA at shoot level, reduced root growth was observed. Now, due to water stress condition and higher concentration of ABA at leaf level, stomatal conductance decreases, which ultimately leads to higher stomatal limitation. Now, due to higher stomatal limitation, transpiration loss decreases at leaf level, which ultimately leads to increase in leaf temperature that cause lower enzymatic photosystem 2 and Rubisco activity, which leads to disruption of cell membrane. That is the reason of reduced leaf growth in deficit irrigated plants. And now, collectively, all these factors leads to lower gas exchange in leaf, which ultimately leads to lower intracellular CO2 concentration. That leads to lower supply of CO2 to parenchymatous cells, which is the reason for lower photosynthesis in deficit irrigated crop. That cause negligible yield drop also. Now, due to water stress condition, reallocation of photosynthesis from source to sink means leaf to fruit occur, which ultimately leads to higher accumulation of solute in fruit. And due to water stress condition, lower translocation of fruit at water occur, which ultimately leads to lower dilution of solute in fruit, which ultimately leads to improved fruit quality. So this is the proper physiological cycle of deficit irrigation. Now here is the major difference between normal irrigated crop and deficit irrigated crop. Normal irrigated crop have normal root growth, while deficit irrigated crop have deeper and better root growth. Normal irrigated crop have normal vegetative growth, while deficit irrigated crop have reduced leaf and shoot growth. It has normal yield production, while deficit irrigated crop have negligible yield drop. But normally irrigated crop have ordinary fruit quality, while deficit irrigated crop have improved fruit quality. And the major difference is it has a very low water use efficiency, while deficit irrigated crop have higher water use efficiency. Now, here is the potential impact of deficit irrigation. Deficit irrigation helps to improve water use efficiency by 33 to 50%, fertilizer use efficiency by 26%. It helps to reduce labor requirement by 29%. It saves energy up to 20 to 22%, and it increases return per hectare by 450 to 850 US dollars. That means 35 to 65,000 Indian rupees. Now, here is some case studies regarding the deficit irrigation. First one is in tomato crop. Nangara and his co-worker in year 2016 at Pune studied the growth, yield, quality, and water use efficiency of tomato as affected by deficit irrigation. They incorporated 3 treatments. First one is irrigation at 60% it is zero, then irrigation at 80% it is zero, and third one is full irrigation. Here we can clearly see that growth parameter like plant height, leaf area index, as well as yield parameter observe maximum under full irrigation treatment, while root parameter like root weight and root depth were observed maximum under deficit irrigation treatment. This might be due to the reason that in deficit irrigation condition, reallocation of assimilate from shoot to root occur, while translocation of ABA from root to shoot occur, which leads to better root growth. The same treatment has better quality parameter like firmness, TSS, ascorbic acid, acidity, and color index. This might be due to the reason that in water stress conditions, low transport of water occur in the fruit, which ultimately leads to lower dilution of solute, which leads to better quality of fruit. Here we can clearly see that maximum water use efficiency was observed under T2 treatment, and the same treatment has minimum yield loss in comparison to full irrigation treatment. So by considering the minimum yield loss, maximum water use efficiency, and as per quality parameters, it is advocated. So here we can clearly see that treatment T3 means full irrigation have maximum yield, but it has a minimum water use efficiency. So it is not advisable. But treatment T2 has a maximum water use efficiency along with negligible yield drop and acceptable quality parameters. So it is advisable. Now in brinjal, Darko and his co-worker in year 2019 at Ghana studied the effect of deficit irrigation on yield and water use efficiency of brinjal. They also incorporated 4 treatments. First one is full irrigation, second one is irrigation at 90% TT0, third one is irrigation at 80% TT0, and fourth one is irrigation at 70% TT0. They observed 10%, 20%, and 30% water saving in treatment T2, T3, and T4 respectively, while 5%, 17.5%, and 25% reduction in a corresponding treatment. Here, treatment T2 has only 5% yield reduction with 10% water saving in comparison to full irrigation treatment. So it is considered as a best. Now in paper, Abdul Halik and his co-worker in year 2019 studied the effect of deficit irrigation on yield and water use efficiency of paper at Spain. They incorporated 9 treatments. First one is full irrigation. Treatment T2, T3 are treatment of classical deficit irrigation is 75% and 50% TT0, while treatment T4, T5, T6 and all the remaining treatment are regulated deficit irrigation at 75% and 50% TT0 at various stages of crop. Here we can clearly see that maximum yield was observed under full irrigation treatment, while maximum water use efficiency was observed under regulated deficit irrigation at 75% TT0 at vegetative growth stage. That means in this treatment, they apply full amount of irrigation water in all the crop growth stages excepting vegetative growth stage, where they apply only 75% irrigation water. That means they save 25% irrigation water here. So this is the reason that this treatment has maximum water use efficiency with minimum yield loss. Here we can clearly see that this treatment has 8.95 kg per meter square yield in comparison to 9.02, which is a negligible yield drop. So it is considered as the best in aspect of water use efficiency and negligible yield drop. Now in this same experiment, they also studied the economics, and the same treatment has only 0.7% revenue reduction. That means only 0.7% decrease in profit. So it is considered as the best in aspect of revenue, water use efficiency, and economic yield. Now in potato, Abdelraf and his co-worker in year 2016 studied the effect of partial ozone drying and deficit irrigation on growth, yield, quality, and water use efficiency At GISA, they incorporated 4 treatments. First one is full irrigation, second one is irrigation at 75% ET0, third one is at 50% ET0. These both treatments are of classical deficit irrigation. And fourth one is partial root zone drying at 50% ET0. Here we can clearly see that all the yield, growth and quality parameters were at par with treatment T4 and treatment T1. That means treatment T4 has 50% less water application, though it has at par data with full irrigation treatment. This might be due to the reason that in partial root zone drying technique, we apply irrigation at half portion of the root zone and remaining half portion of the root zone kept dry. So dry part initiate water stress mechanism, which help to save water, which help to improve water use efficiency, while other hydrated part of the root zone maintain favorable moisture condition, which help to gain economic yield. So by considering maximum water use efficiency and other data, here partial root zone drying at 50% ET0 is considered as the best. So based on the scientific literature reviewed, it is inferred that deficit irrigation is a promising strategy of economizing water use in vegetables with providing sustainable yield and improved quality if applied appropriately. Considering the physiological aspect of deficit irrigation, regulated deficit irrigation and partial root zone drying is safer than classical deficit irrigation, because in regulated deficit irrigation and partial root zone drying technique, less or no amount of water deficit is there during water sensitive period of crop cycle. In general, application of RDI and or PRD with 50 to 90% ET0 at certain growth stages, for example, vegetative or fruit ripening stage, is highly rewarding in aspect of water saving along with maintaining economical yield and quality. At present, it may be postulated that while the overall crop productivity is reduced under deficit irrigation, the increase in water use efficiency, crop quality, and the opportunity cost of water can compensate yield reduction. The economic benefit of adopting deficit irrigation may be low where water is inexpensive or free, but it is much higher where water is scanty and or expensive. And the net economic return of applying deficit irrigation is meaningful. Moreover, cultivated area or cropping intensity can be increased with this save water is another angle for compensating yield loss through deficit irrigation. So here is the summary of our lecture. Deficit irrigation can definitely save water. Yes, it may highly reduce the vegetative growth. It minimally reduces the yield but maintains sustainable economic bar. But it significantly improves fruit quality and water use efficiency. Now here is the example. What we are presently practicing is we apply 100 unit of water to get 80 unit of yield with 0% water saving. Now we are not suggesting that in order to save water, we have to apply only 10 to 20 unit of water and get 10 to 15 unit of yield with 80 to 90% water saving. We are not in the favor of this both extreme cases, but what we are recommending is we should apply 50 to 90 unit of water, get 40 to 70 unit of economic yield with 10 to 50% water saving. We have to find out that midway which maintain economic yield also and save significant amount of water, which ultimately leads to higher water productivity and water use efficiency. Now here is the future thrust. We must have to change our mindset regarding disciplined use of water in agricultural sector. The alarm is real, and we have to find out efficient way of application of water in agricultural sector. Concrete research work along with productive database in aspect of deficit irrigation in agricultural area of India is a necessary thing, and we have to develop easy and effective protocol for applying deficit irrigation for farmers. Positive approach and positive effects of deficit irrigation can further improved by implementing artificial intelligence, PGR and cultivation practices. Farmer can get secondary income by reallocation of water. That means if farmer apply deficit irrigation in his farm, then he can transfer that save water to water rich area to water poor area and generate secondary income also. So in this way, farmer can also generate secondary income along with improve water use efficiency and cropping intensity. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dushyant, for the detailed presentation. Now I'll take up some questions. Just give me 1 second.
Sure.
So the first question is, as research scholar at ASPEE College, what exactly do you do?
Presently, I am pursuing my Ph.D. degree. So in our Ph.D. program, there is a credit-based system. So I have to do research research, and I have to give seminar, and I have to study various subjects also. So my study portion is completed, but I have to complete my second season of research.
Okay. Okay. Mr. Dushyant, can you please stop sharing the screen so that we can see your full video?
Okay, okay. Wait.
And next question is, what is your education background?
I have completed my undergraduate as a BSc Honors Horticulture. Then I have completed my master's in vegetable science. And after that, now I'm pursuing my PhD degree in vegetable science.
Okay. And how did you get interested in this topic of vegetable crops irrigation?
Because this issue is very, I consider this issue as a burning issue in recent time, because water is a very limiting factor in agriculture. And in upcoming 10 years, irrigated water is a big issue. So we must have to find out efficient application of irrigation water. And it is a necessary thing, because without water, we can not do farming.
Okay.
So that's why it is, I found this very interesting.
Okay. So you also provide any kind of consultancy service?
No, at present I am pursuing academic career. So I'm not, I'm not eligible for my any part-time
Not
job.
allowed to do.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Okay. And next question is, we know of drip irrigation technology. What are some other newer irrigation technologies that have come up?
Sorry, I can't hear you properly.
We know of drip irrigation technology.
Yes.
What are some other newer irrigation technologies that have come up?
Yeah. So we can implement automated irrigation system with drip irrigation system also. It is a recently very demanding approach in other countries, not in India, but in other countries. India, it is also developing very fast. So in this, they are what doing? They are implementing some moisture sensor in the field. So on the basis of that depletion of moisture and that present moisture condition, that automation system is deployed, turn on and turn off that irrigation system, which help to reduce water wastage. So it is very helpful to improve water use efficiency in India farming.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Dushyant, I don't see any further questions from our participants. So now we have come to end of question round.
Okay.
On behalf of agricultureinformation.com, I like to thank Mr. Dushyant Dipakkumar for the detailed presentation and answering all the questions. And we also like to thank all the participants for joining this meeting. The meeting will now be closed.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.